Wow, a lot going on in the research world. I'd like to welcome everyone back to another Behind the Hive vlog that we're starting here at Not Apiary Products. Today the question is to treat or not to treat in the spring. When varroa mites are so low, often they're not even detectable. So to do that, I'm going to introduce Dr. Heather Broccard-Bell. She's been with Not Apiary Products for 4 years, and she brings a rich history of beekeeping research with her. So she's been working in the hive, she's been getting lots of data, and she's going to share the reason why we should be treating in the spring.
Treating in the spring, and you mentioned mites being below detection threshold. Well, there's good reasons for that. So the most common way that people use to determine whether or not mites meet treatment thresholds by traditional standards is by using the alcohol wash. And the problem in the early spring especially is that the brood area within the colony is expanding quite a lot. Most of the mites are in the brood and they prefer to be in the brood. The mite population is also expanding at that time. So the majority of the mites are going to be in the brood, whereas alcohol wash, if you're using that method, or anything where you're sampling adult bees, it just might be very difficult to even find any mites. So even if you use any of these well-known detection methods, you might not see a mite, and then you might falsely conclude that there aren't any mites in your colony. But I'm going to show you some data here to the effect that even if you don't see mites, they're certainly there. So this is a study that was conducted last summer, and we've got two groups here. The yellow line is a group that was treated with Formic Pro on the 16th of May, and the gray line is a group that didn't get treated at all. And these hives are actually kept in the same yard, so they're under exactly the same environmental conditions. One group is treated with Formic Pro on May 16th, and one group is untreated. And what this is a picture of is mite fall on sticky boards. So these lines depict the amount of mites that are falling down on sticky boards underneath of colonies.
Right. So when I look at a slide like this, what it's telling me is that the varroa population itself, it appears, almost to the end of June, followed along almost identically. But then suddenly, we're not seeing the varroa population jump up in the Formic Pro treated colonies like we see it in the control colonies. So the May 16th means it's early enough in the spring that you're going to have an impact such that you keep the total varroa population down through the summer arc until the bees are producing the winter bees for the upcoming winter cluster.
Absolutely. That's really the benefit of treatment, is you're giving your bees just that much longer of a time window where they're not impeded by an excessive varroa population.
Okay.
And that's really what this graph is showing, is the shift in the curve of the population expansion.
So by the time we get, roughly Labor Day or first 1 week into September here, in the untreated population, we're looking at about 2,700 mites on average. And then within the treated population that was treated back on May 16th, they're right around the 720 or so mark. So that's significant difference as far as overall exposure to mites within the honeybee population.
Absolutely. And something to really point out on this graph too, this is cumulative mite fall. So that's actually the total number of mites that fell on those sticky boards over time.
Right.
Actually, I have more data to really give you a full understanding of how many varroa are left if you don't treat. So whereas this graph really just shows you treatment versus no treatment and how many mites fell on sticky boards, so you'd have to wait for them to live out their natural lives to die and then fall on the sticky boards to be quantified. This graph is from a different experiment that we ran last year, where we did something called a critical treatment. Again, this is mite fall data on sticky boards, and again, this is cumulative mite fall data, so the total number that have fallen over time. These two groups, once again, the yellow group is treated with Formic Pro on May 16th, and then the gray group is untreated, again, manipulated in the same way though. But then we did something extra in this experiment. So we applied a critical treatment, and in our case, we used oxalic acid vapor, and we applied it 3 times. And you can see at June 10th, the sticky board that we placed in the hive, there is suddenly this spike in the untreated group, whereas the mite fall in the treated group, the one that we treated with Formic Pro earlier in the season, is still pretty low. What this is telling us is that in the untreated group, there is actually a way higher level of mites left alive by the time we get to June 10th. And what this is really further showing is the degree to which the varroa are in the brood, and then further, how well formic acid does at actually killing the mites that are in the brood.
That's pretty amazing, because really that's just a 4-week period.
Yeah.
So when you apply on May 16th and then you look again on the 10th of June, that's even just under. But you can see it's quite a dramatic jump in what you're doing to the mite population in order to keep it low.
Yeah, the real benefit, especially in Canada, where we might have a tight turnaround between when we can actually start treating and when we need our bees to be in good working condition, as it were, is that using Formic Pro, the treatment time is relatively short relative to other treatments. There's no withdrawal period.
Single application.
Yeah, yeah. So minimal effort. You're able to fit it in essentially before you need your bees to be functional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we unwrap and then just days later, or even sometimes the same day, we end up treating. And so it's got to be a bang, 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 get through the spring activities.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking at that in the field as the season unfolds in future vlogs coming up. We hope you enjoyed this look into why you should be considering treating early in the spring. We're going to be producing additional vlogs that will go into detail on how to plan when to treat. And we're going to show you some teaching tools that we've developed and we use in our educational courses, and we hope you will join us for those as well. Heather, thank you for joining us for this vlog and sharing all your hard work. Well, not all of it, just a piece of it actually. And we look forward to having you back on again.
Thank you, David. Always a pleasure.